everybody. My name is Oshin. I'm your host today, and with me I have Ayush Tiwari, who scored a 99.99 percentile on CAT 2020. He also scored a 100 percentile on the DILR section, which was touted to be the toughest in the recent years. How he does it, what was his story, are questions that we'll cover. But the focus of this video is to talk to you about how he approached mock tests in particular. So before we dive right into the conversation, let me welcome you, Ayush, and ask you to quickly introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, Oshin. Thank you for the introduction. Just to give a quick introduction of me to the audience, this is Ayush Tiwari. I am from Raipur, Chhattisgarh. I did my engineering from National Institute of Technology, Raipur, in mechanical engineering. I graduated this year in May, and I am currently in the management program of IIM Ahmedabad for the batch of 23.
All right, amazing. So it's a privilege to have you, Ayush. And before further ado, let me dive into the questions we have for today. First out of which is, what do you think is the role? Because we're in July, July has begun now. I want to ask you what you think is the role of mock tests at large for somebody who's preparing for CAT.
So in my experience, what mock tests did for me was to develop the sort of habit that I wanted on the actual CAT day. So just the habits that I want to have to be actually facing the problems in CAT. So there are a lot of things that mock tests actually give you apart from the scores and percentile. So naturally, when we talk about mocks, we generally tend to focus our attention on the percentiles or the scores or the rankers. But what I found out was more than the percentile and the scores itself, the process of taking a mock and analyzing it was the more important part for me, because mocks are in the end for the practice. And what you take out from a mock is what you're understanding, what that will be in the actual CAT exam. So for me, what mocks did was, first and foremost, developed a habit that I was able to go for 3 hours at a stretch without being tired, because initially the CAT was 3 hours, and it certainly changed the pattern in September. So I remember the 3 hour pattern was actually more tiring and exhausting, because when we actually reach the quant section, we are exhausted out of the DILR. DILR is actually a demanding section, and by the time quant comes, we are exhausted completely. And that is a challenge that the 3 hour mock possesses. So just the ability to be able to sit for 3 hours straight with your head still in the game, that's one of the most important things that mocks actually teach you. The other most important thing is when you're actually down in a paper, when you have hit a slump, when for 5 minutes for the past in the section you have not done anything. Now is the time for redemption. Now is the time when you actually can either get up or give up. So that is the time what defines your score in the end. So mocks actually develop that habit in you. If you hit a slump in the actual paper or in any section or in any question in particular, you have that courage that, okay, I can get back up from this. Just that confidence that the mocks give you is, I think, one of the most important things to have in the actual exam.
Thanks for that answer, Ayush. So really the idea is for everybody who's taking mocks to keep in mind this mindset for taking the mocks, because oftentimes when scores are low, people start questioning why should we take mocks in the first place. And I think remembering how they're going to add up to our experience by the time CAT is around the corner is a helpful way to look at taking mocks in general. And with that, I want to ask you what you think is the ideal time to start taking mocks, because we're in July already. And basically, what level of course completion do you recommend folks should have done before they take? What was your case, if you could talk about that?
So this is a question that is particularly talked about a lot. I have gotten a lot of requests from a lot of students that what is the ideal time for me? When should I start? And the simple answer that I can give is there is no particular fixed time for anyone. It's just that every strategy is different. Every person has a different way of approaching things. There is no fixed time that no one can pin on. But in my case, most of the mock series, the big brands were started in April, but the actual season started from June. The mock started weekly or every alternate week from June. And I think for a serious aspirant, June or maybe July is the time when they actually have to get serious about mocks. Even if not serious about mocks, they have to have a clear idea of, okay, this is the time when I actually have to start hitting mocks. And regarding the preparation behind it, I think you have to have a clear sense of syllabus, and you have to have a basic understanding of the entire thing that the actual syllabus holds. Because I have seen people going about the mocks without any preparation. People just go and give a mock without any syllabus that is covered in quants, and that actually defeats the purpose of the mock, because at this point you won't be able to analyze the mock if that was because of your lack of knowledge, or was it because of your lack of attention, or maybe some other things. So it defeats the purpose of the mock. The mocks are basically there to tell you the problems that you're having, the lacking that there is in your strategy or in your methodology. If you don't have the knowledge for the subject, it actually defeats the purpose of giving a mock. So I would recommend to actually have a clear sense of the syllabus before you start giving a mock. But again, July is the time when you actually have to be very diligent in giving mocks. For me personally, the first mock that I gave very sincerely was SIMCAT 1. I remember it was in 27th of April. I still remember the date as if it was yesterday. And April had no mock. There was a gap in for every mock series. Then by 5th of June, SIMCAT 2 started, and after every week after week, mocks were regular. So yes, June was the time when I started giving mocks. But the thing about the positive thing for me was that I completed my syllabus in May. So I had the time to dedicate my resources and time to mocks entirely. So that helped. But again, for a serious aspirant, June or by late July is the right time to start giving mocks.
So for folks who are, let's say, still doing their syllabus, you would recommend that they finish it as soon as they possibly can, and then get into the mocks, and not give mocks just for the sake of it, because that would kill the purpose.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. Then moving on, do you think that there's like a particular mock test series that offers maximum advantage to an aspirant? Could you talk about the one you took? You said SIMCATs. Did you take multiple? Was it just one? What's your viewpoint on that?
So what I believe is of course, the big names that are there, IMS, Time, Career Launcher, they have had absolute dedicated resources for CAT aspirants over the years. And I do believe that they have spent a lot of time into developing those resources, and they have mastered that. So that the thing with the big names is that they have very good resources and their competition base is very strong. That being said, I myself took IMS in Time, and it is important to not stick with one particular name. It's not necessary to just take any big name or for mock series, but it is definitely helpful to take multiple, because from what I experienced, every coaching or every mock series has a particular way of asking questions. So for example, if I remember correctly, AIM cats, the mock series of Time, were in particular very heavy and intensive. I remember people on forums talking a lot about how it was so lengthy, how it was so psychological. The VARC passage was so psychological in nature and whatnot. And yes, that is the general sort of trend that we saw in SIMCAT. AIMCAT. And in SIMCATs, it was generally more of a cat-like pattern. But again, there were occasional surprises in SIMCAT as well. So every mock series has a different pattern of their own. And I think at least two series gives you the exposure that you need, because we do not know what the actual CAT will turn out to be, because we don't know if it will be easy like a SIMCAT or a career launcher, or it will be tough like the AIMCAT. So we have to be prepared for any adverse case that might happen. And that is why I would prefer, if anyone who is a serious aspirant, would go for at least multiple test series, so that they have even if not anything else, a diverse question set, so that they're better equipped for the actual CAT.
And when you took both of these series, how did you go about taking mocks? Did you take each and every mock test of each of both the series? Basically, I'm asking you to quantify the number of mocks that you took and the number that you recommend as the bare minimum everybody should take.
To be honest, Oshin, I do not remember the number of mocks that I gave because
I think Ayush, his internet has, there's something wrong with it because I can't see him.
just a second. The light at my home went.
Okay, no worries.
Is it fine because there is no light?
Okay, yeah, we can see you. That's effective.
I'm really very sorry for this. The internet just the light went down. It's raining heavily in Raipur. I'm sorry.
No, please
Yeah.
stay. As long as we can see you and hear you, this is okay, and you're very visible and audible both. So that's effective.
Yeah, for the people at YouTube, I'm sorry. I could not have foreseen this before. Yeah. Yeah. So coming back to the topic, I think when I actually started giving mocks, I had a very clean idea of, okay, this is the number of mocks that I want to hit. And I actually maintained a pretty decent Excel sheet of the sectional scores and everything. But by the time September came and there was a change in the pattern, it really threw me off guard because I was not ready for that kind of change yet, because my strategy was fixed. My sitting hours were fixed. I was totally into the habit of getting into 3 hours. And yeah, it did change a lot of things that were in my preparation, because September is pretty late stage for a serious aspirant. So that actually did affect me a lot. But again, it did affect everyone. So just to answer the question, that the number of marks that I gave, I do not know, because when the pattern actually changed, I do not remember the number of 3 hours and the 2 hours. It actually has mixed up, has been mixed up in my brain. But for if I can actually guesstimate about the number, I think somewhere around 75 to 80 marks was what I gave, including the 2 hours and 3 hours. It could have been more, but I cannot really say. But for a serious aspirant, I think at least crossing the 30-35 mark barrier is important, because every series that we buy has at least 15 proctored marks and equal unproctored marks as well. So that gives you about 30 marks. So even in the worst case, you have at least 30-35 marks. So, and that are important, because see, the thing is, if you're preparing for the CAT, you have to have a wide amount of scenarios planned out in your head. You cannot say that, okay, in this case, I'll be, if the paper comes tough, I'll do this. If the paper comes easy, I'll do this. Just thinking that is not enough, because you have to be in the actual situation to deal with it. And mocks essentially do that, as I talked before. So you have to have a clear sense of a paper. When you see a paper, you see that it's difficult or it's tough or it's approachable or not. You have to have a clear sense of how you go about it. And that, I think, only mocks can give you. No other practice source can give you, no other alternate question bank can give you that. Only mocks can do that. So it can differ for different people, because there are people who have scored good with less number of mocks as well. But that is a different case. People have different strategies, and so, but even after that, they have done a pretty decent number of mocks to be able to condition themselves for the CAT. And that, I think, is the most important thing about a mock.
Right, and immediately after that, 2020, all this talking about DILR, very difficult, or X section was like that. So your point largely is that any of these permutations and combinations of difficulties could be seen on the real paper, and this diversity in mock tests and this going through the process of taking mock tests again and again would prepare aspirants to face any of those scenarios and yet be able to do well.
Exactly. So I actually want to share something here, because while on the 29th of November last year, I still say it was the best day of my life. And when I actually came back after giving the mock, I think around I had this third slot, and I came back at around 7, and I was sitting. It's okay, the CAT is done. I started seeing the videos of all the biggest YouTuber, the teachers there are, all the big names you can understand. So every video that I saw, the big teachers like Jijo, 2IIM, they all were in third slot by by luck or whatever you call it, were in the slot that I was. And I am seeing their videos and everyone is shouting DILR was tough, DILR was tough. I could not get even 2 sets. I could not even get 3 sets. Even I think I got a lot. So by the time 29th ended, 30th started, I started talking to my mentors, my friends who actually gave the exam with me. And I said, okay, I have solved 4 sets completely and I'm quite sure about it. And everyone is sending me these videos that, see, these guys have only scored 2 sets. How can you do 4? You are either getting 100 or a 10 percentile. So in my head, I was thinking, okay, I might have done a very big blunder. And in that scenario, my only instinct was I might have done something horribly wrong, because if the veterans are not able to score good marks, how can I? That was the initial instinct. But in the end, that was not the case. And that, I think that everyone should remember, because just because your mentor, just because your friend, or just because the topper of any particular mock series did not get the percentile, did find the paper tough, does not mean that you should feel that way. Because in the end, it's all about your preparation, your actual cat. And that's something that isn't talked about much in the cat space. And that's really important to remember.
Got it. Thanks for sharing that, Ayush. And while we're at it, let me ask you this. When you would sit for all these mocks, it's about to start, let's say 5 minutes before the test, what is it that goes in your mind? The question really is, how did you approach a mock test? What was your mindset when you were approaching mock tests, if you could talk about that?
So it actually, it was a real up and down for me, because when I started, I was a very I overthinked every possible scenario there was. I overthink the number of questions might come. I overthinked about the types of sets that might come in DILR. I overthought everything. And with time, I realized that actually is not helping me. And I remember not sleeping any minute in the before the cat, and it was really hectic for me because I did not have any minute of sleep. And but what mocks taught me was just go in without any expectations. When you're actually going in front of the computer screen, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Because the thing is, if the question paper is tough, it's tough for everyone. If it is easy, it's easy for everyone. And you have to adjust accordingly. You cannot go in with a predefined mindset. Okay, no, I'll solve this amount of questions. I'll solve this amount of sets, or whatever be the case. That is one thing that I actually removed from my preparation back in the day, in I think from August itself. And that helped me a lot, because in particular, if I can talk about DILR, there is a very common strategy or talk that, okay, if you crack half the sets, you are done. You are having a 99 percentile or whatever your aim is. But the thing is, no one is talking about how you can maximize that. You are talking about a 99 percentile, but what about the 100 percentage? We don't talk about that. And that actually hampers a lot of aspirants, because if I am going in with the predefined mindset of solving 3 sets, I'll at max solve 3 sets. I won't get over it. At best, if my exam was good, I'll go just reach 3 sets, but I won't go over it. And that hurts. So the only thing that I carried with me in the paper was, I don't know what is coming. I'll just solve whatever I can. And in the actual cat as well, I thought, okay, I have to solve 100%. Whatever comes, I'll have to solve. And yeah, and you change your strategy as you go about the paper, because it's unknown for everyone. If it's tough for everyone. So you have to manage like that.
Okay. And while we're at it, the moment we talked about the change in 2020 pattern, you said that you didn't remember the number of mocks you took, but when you realized, so see, because just now for people who are taking CAT 2021, we still don't know what pattern it's going to be like. So for those who are going to be taking mocks soon, like you said, after they're done with most of their syllabus, how do you think they should go about it? Should pattern be a concern, or should the focus solely lie on solving and getting questions right, wrong, analysis, everything?
See, the thing is, for the people who are going for CAT 2021, I'm sorry for you guys, because COVID is still here. It's been over a year and COVID is still here, and we cannot foresee what will happen. To be honest, no one can say if the paper will be 2 hours or 3 hours. And the best you can do is be prepared for anything. And that goes for everything in CAT. So because the fact that if it changes, it will change for everyone. That is the sole cushion that you have. If it is going to change, it will change for everyone. It is not simply going to terrify me, but it will terrify everyone as well. So I remember back in September, I just gave up. I just gave a mock and got up, and I had a lot of notifications on my phone, and I just see that it's the pattern has changed from 3 hours to 2 hours. It was really a shocker for me. At first, I thought it was just a joke. It most of the times it is. So that was my initial thought, that okay, this is a joke. It won't change. But then I saw the actual notification, and yes, it was 2 hours. I was terrified, to be honest. I was just overwhelmed. Sorry about that. I was just overwhelmed by the thought that now my entire preparation has gone to the drain. And yeah, but it was the case for everyone else. Now getting back from it was a tough part, but so it was so the same was the case for everyone else. So you have to remember that because not everyone is perfect. No one will score 100 percentile in every mock. No one can be consistent all year round. But at least everyone who has achieved a good percentile knows the secret is getting up from where you were down. And that's essentially the case. So even if somehow the pattern changes this year, or if it goes to 2 hours, or maybe it stays 3 hours, the best you can do is be prepared for everything. And again, you have to be flexible in your operations, because you cannot say that okay, I'll prepare for 2 hours. If it goes to 3 hours, I'll manage. You have to be ready for anything. And if this happens as late as September, you won't have the time, because everyone is preparing like that. So yeah, it's better to be ready from now.
Ayush, at this point, we have a lot of live questions that have come in. So let's take a live, let's do a live questions bit, and then towards the end, perhaps you could talk to us about the other things you did that helped you score a 99.99. As far as the live questions are concerned, the first one I see is Pranav's. He's asking what should be the best material for starting CAT preparation. If you could just touch upon the material you used and the material you recommend for those who are preparing now.
Okay, so I think I should go section by section, right? Yeah. So for VARC, there is no book or no material that can equip you for VARC, because VARC in CAT has something that has been predominantly changing over the years, and the entire theory of asking questions has remained the same, but the sources have changed. So the best you can do is read a lot, and it is the most generic advice that everyone gives for VARC, at least, that you have to read a lot. And to be honest, that is true, because what CAT is testing is, if you are given a certain piece of words, are you able to make sense out of it? And that is essentially what CAT wants to know. So reading helps a lot, and it has been the age-old advice to every CAT aspirant to prepare for VARC, and I think that works because there are no hidden shortcuts in it. You have to read a lot. And not just reading, because I have seen a lot of people reading and not seeing any changes. It's just not about reading. It's actually about comprehending what you're reading. So the one thing that I did was, let's say we have a 3,000 word essay, and I am reading it. After every passage, if I can make a mental note of whatever I am reading, just a mental note, just a summary of 1 line or 2 lines, even if I jot it down, So by the time I end the entire essay, I will have a more clear idea of the connecting points between the summaries of the individual passages, and this actually helped me a lot, because it's just not about reading; it's about comprehending while you're reading it. So a lot of people actually don't understand that, and they are reading at an incredible pace. I have had examples where people have read 500-word passages in 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, but still their accuracy is down. That's because they are not able to comprehend it while they're reading it, and that is a problem. You have to treat that. So you have to analyze the passage. You have to understand that, make note of it as you are going through the passage. So for VRC, read a lot. There are a lot of good sources on the open net, where you can read good essays, good publications, good editorials. You can read newspapers, the Hindu, the Hindu, New York Times, Guardian. They have one of the best editorials. Hindu, if you want particularly Indian geopolitical topics. Then apart from this, there are essays. There is Aeon essays. There is Smithsonian Magazine. There is Psyche. These are all on open sources, and they have pretty decent and diverse topics to be read. So yeah, I think that covers it. This is for the RC bit. Again, for the VA bit, there is nothing much that you can learn. It's more about how you form sentence structures and everything. That's a technical thing. I don't think I should get into the deeper aspect of that. But again, VA comes with practice, as all things in CAT. So for VA, what I found was, past years of CAT would suffice, because every year we are having two slots and 10 VA questions to 20 questions of VA every year. So even if you solve those for the past 10 years, you have a good repository. So that's a good amount of questions for VA. But again, you will have a lot of questions from the mock series that you buy. For VA, that would suffice. So I think that answers it for VA. Should I move on to the DILR part?
Please, yeah.
Yeah. So DILR is essentially about the number of sets you practice. It's just purely on that. It's all about how you manage those sets, how you crack those sets, and in what time you crack those sets. So you have to have a good repository as well, right? So essentially, IMS time, they have one of the best and dedicated DILR. Light came, thankfully. Yeah. So time and IMS have one of the best repositories of DILR that I can definitely say. Especially, I was actually quite impressed by the IMS material. That's good. So every mock series has that, and so you'll have at least those questions. Apart from this, from 2017, CAT has changed a pattern in the DILR. Now the DILR sets are pretty mixed, in the sense that DI and LR are not separate. They are in one set, and they are coming in the same way for the last 3 years. So from for the last 3, or now 4, it's coming to 4. So these 4 years of CAT exams of the DILR sections are a good source to start. They will give you an idea of what CAT needs from you, because the difference that I did see was, the DILR sets in mock were very technical. It's a, if let's say it's a games and tournament set, there'll be entirely this player is that, this is that, but CAT does not do that. And I actually see this trend when I actually see back at the papers. CAT is more about a fun DILR set. CAT wants to create a story around the set. It's just not about the set itself. Because in slot 3, I remember the sets were pretty fun to solve. There was this farmer, he has three daughters. So it's, if anyone remembers the slot 3, it actually was a very good set. It was fun to solve. And this is what CAT has been doing over the years. It does not ask very technical sets, but it is a set which will make you think a lot. And while you are doing it, you'll have a lot of fun. So CAT, in the aspect of that, is pretty different from the mocks. But again, you have to understand the technicalities to be able to unravel that story. So that being said, the mocks are the best source to solve DILR. Apart from this, there are a lot of good channels on YouTube. and there is a leads grade. Now I can say about what I solved. There is a leads grade, there is anesthesis Shankar. They have some awesome content on DILR. They have solved videos as well. And yeah, you can follow their YouTube playlists any day. And yeah, I think mocks and past CAT papers and these channels on open source, I think these were the only ones that I solved. And to be honest, these are enough, because if you solved all of them, you will get to somewhere around 500 sets or more. So that is a decent number of sets. Yeah, you can extend it, of course, but then you'll have to go about finding more sets, better sets, because you don't want to waste your time on useless sets, right? So, but I think for a serious aspirant, 500 sets is a good aim. Coming to quant, I think that's the last. In the quants, we have, I cannot even quantify. There are n number of authors, and some of them are very good. Some of them have been decent over the years. But what in the YouTube space as well, a lot of good content is coming up. Especially, I remember studying from Takshila, Rodha. These were pretty awesome content, and from very basic stuff. So these guys helped me a lot. And apart from that, obviously mocks are there. In quants, there are Arun Sharma and Sarvesh Kumar have been putting up some awesome content over the years as well. So in quant, you will definitely not see the earth of resources. There are books, there are mocks, there are YouTube channels. So I think quants is the most set part in the resource bit.
Got it. Just to check, can you hear me clearly, or should I hold my mic closer?
Just a bit closer.
Got it. Is this okay, guys?
Yeah.
So another question we have is, did you prepare so you were a fresher when you were preparing, you were in your final year of college, right? And the question is, were you preparing all by yourself, or did you take up coaching?
So I was actually
I think Ayush's internet is gone again. Perhaps power is cut back again at his place. So we'll wait for a minute and we'll see if it comes back. Meanwhile, if you guys are curious, I'll just summarize for you whatever he's told so far. His take on mock tests. So I'll just go about it and then let me know if that's okay. His take on mock tests was that there's no point giving mock tests unless you're done with your course, because that defeats the purpose. He thinks that mock tests, the role they play in your preparation is they prepare you for any different scenario that CAT can have for you on the exam day. And what he really said was, so he took CAT 2020 and he did not find the LRDI section as difficult as everybody said it was. He was very thorough when he was preparing in going about different topics, practicing them. And when we asked them how many mocks he took, his answer was he didn't count. He estimated it to be about 60 or 80 mocks. So his advice or tip in terms of mock tests really was that you take more than one mock series and you do at least a bare minimum of 30 to 35 mock tests. So you get about 30 in a single mock series, even if you purchase any of the big three names. He did more than one, and he emphasizes on variety because so that you don't get used to the pattern. Hi, welcome back, Ayush. Can you hear me? You're on mute. Yeah, so meanwhile, yeah, I can hear you. I just summarized to our viewers the points you said about mock test, the number and everything. Now that you're back, let's get back to the live questions. You were talking about quants, and I think you were almost done talking about the resources. Then I asked you about the coaching you joined, if you joined any.
So yes, I did have a mentor in Raipur, and I was coming to that. Having a mentor does really help, and it is important that you have a personalized mentor because there are things that you might not understand about the pattern itself. There are a lot of tricks that you do not understand about how to go about the paper, and just even if not that, you just have to have. There are times when you need someone to talk to. You want someone to vent out the feelings that you are having. So in those cases, a mentor is very important, because even if you have your friends and family, they won't be able to understand what you're going through, the problems that you're facing in the preparation space. So in that case, having a mentor does really help. And I remember back in the day, while I was preparing, whenever I had a problem, I used to message my sir that, okay sir, this is my problem, this is what I am having an issue with. And yeah, and that is important. You have a support system to fall back on, you have someone to look up to take advice. And yes, again, these questions come a lot of times, that do I need a mentor, should I join a coaching or not? So the simple answer is, if you can get personalized attention from any mentor, it's advisable that you take that, um, because yeah, there are things that you do not know about the cat, and only someone who has faced it before can tell you that.
Got it. And at this point, I remember you said the other day that you told your mentor that you wouldn't be able to do well on DILR. Could you tell us about that? Because you're a 100 percentiler. So how did you make that shift?
Yeah, so that's pretty. I for the people who are struggling in DILR, I think this is the best motivation I can give you. So back in the day, I think it was around June when I actually started the mock season. And uh, for people who are giving mocks, they might understand this better, because when June ends and July starts, the serious candidates in the mock series starts to grow, and the percentile takes a dip suddenly, because out up until this point you were scoring a good you were scoring some score and you were getting a good percentile. Now that the serious candidates have come in, your percentile suddenly drops. And I was really astonished that, okay, I did score a good, like, it was not very bad, but it was certainly not what I expected it to be. So yeah, that was the point when I thought, okay, this is DLR is not my cup of tea. I won't be able to get anything out of it. So I remember getting up from a mock and talking to my mentor, sir, डर लग रहा है, नहीं हो पाएगा. And I got a one message reply. He says, डरने से कुछ नहीं होता. And it at that point it felt like such a small thing to say, that okay, उन्होंने तो बोल दिया, what about me, how do I deal with it? But now that I look back at it, I think that's the only thing, that's the only answer that he could have given me, because there is no other way that you can ace DILR or any section in particular if you have not. But in DILR, the thing is, if you're fearful, if you are worried that I won't be able to crack this set, you surely won't be able to crack this set, because DILR is 50% about your knowledge and 50% about how you start the puzzle solving. And if you're feared, if there is a fear in your head, it certainly won't let you go ahead of that 50%. So in DILR, if you're confident, you are 50% there. And yeah, that was the time I actually had a very brief time where I was very demotivated, where I did not have any idea of where I land, where I'll end up. But then I started putting in serious time for DILR, and I actually started putting daily hours for DILR specifically. And yeah, the end result is in front of you.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And did you specifically have a different strategy for DILR? Because folks are curious what strategies that you follow to get the 100 percentile.
So I will talk about that, but before that, I want to clarify something, because when I started, when I actually had a lot of conversation with different mentors over the time last year, the one thing that was common was aim for this number of sets or aim for this number of questions. This is a very common, and mostly I think 80% of the candidates go by the same. Pick sets and pick the easiest set or pick the shortest set and then go about it. Yeah, that is a good strategy and it does work for some people. But for me, it was never the case, because the thing was me, I'll be honest here, because when I actually gave mocks with this strategy that I'll have to pick sets, I'll have to pick this particular set, the easiest one, more often than not, I was actually picking the wrong sets. So picking was not my strong point. And yeah, that was my strategy. That was how I gave tests. I was not good at picking sets. So the initial thought process for me was, I am able to solve the sets standalone, but I'm not able to pick sets. So why not give up picking sets? So the only thought process that I had was, I have to go for every set that is there. So even I remember I had slot 3. So by the time slot 1 got over, I knew that, okay, there are only 24 questions in the paper. Okay, people call it an unfair advantage, but yeah, it was. So yeah, I was aware that there are 24 questions in the set and in the section, and I have to solve all the 24 there are. So there was no ceiling in my head. There was no thought that I'll have to select the easiest set or the shortest set, and then I'll pick the next best set. I never went in with that thought process. I said, okay, this is 1 to 4, I'll solve this. Then 5 to 8, I'll solve this. And if I do not solve it, I'll move ahead. And yes, no one can solve all the 24. Even I did not, and I don't think anyone this year could. But yeah, this was the strategy that worked for me. So I'm not saying that the picking the easier questions and going then forward is a bad strategy, but it was not the strategy for me. So the simple answer that I can give everyone is, find out what's right for you. Find out the right strategy that is working for you, because more often than not, the strategies that you hear are not the best strategies out there. Or even if it is, it might possibly not work for you. So mocks are there for a reason. You have to find out if that particular strategy is working for you. And then, yeah, that's it for you. Then you develop the strategy to maximize the score. Yeah.
And could you also quickly tell us the number of questions you attempted on DILR last year and how many you got right?
I attempted 20 and I got 19 out of those correct. So my raw score was 56. And since the slot 3 DILR was tough, I mean, I'm not saying it by subjective opinion, it was in the statistics. It got scaled up to 62. So my overall scaled score was 62 out of 72.
Got it. And another quick question is by the audience, when did you start your preparation?
So I think January 2021 was when I was starting to prepare myself for, okay, this is the year I have to give CAT, and this is the year that I'll be serious about it. But again, I said I gave SimCAT 1 on 27th of April, and I remember pandemic came just right around that time. So I had a lot of things with that. I had my internships, I had my pre-placement since I was in my final year. So a lot of things along with that. So I think SimCAT 1 was the date when I actually started putting diligent efforts onto everything in CAT. So yeah, I think May starting, or even mid-April was the time I started.
April to May, got it. And so folks who are, let's say, starting now or started in June, what would your approach would be for them? Should they like focus on completing their syllabus just now, or should they focus on starting testing themselves, like giving daily tests or sectional tests as they go ahead?
Since we are in July, today marks the beginning of July, I would say you have to start a habit of at least sitting for 3 hours or 2 hours, whatever the time the mocks are, so that you at least develop that habit, because a lot of people find trouble in just sitting there for 3 hours. And yeah, CAT is actually testing you on that as well. So you have to actually develop that habit. So do not take mock seriously as of now if your syllabus is not completed. If your syllabus is completed, then go full on for mocks. But if this is specifically for the people who have not completed their syllabus, I would say start completing your syllabus on a faster pace. July is here, and let me tell you, serious people, the ones who are serious, have really put the gear on the fifth at this time. And you have to put a brisk pace on the syllabus covering aspect. So but yes, I think this is the time where you should start mocks, at least, just not for the scores, but for the habit of it. But once you complete it in the next 15, 20, or even 1 month, I think after completion of your syllabus, especially in quants, because VARC and DILR have no prescribed format or syllabus, especially in quants, once you complete the syllabus, then you can go full on mocks.
Got it. And here's a question somebody is asking, is that they've completed their syllabus for quants, but they're not confident enough and they're not able to solve a lot of questions also. So how would you say they should proceed from this point?
Sorry, your voice cracked for me.
Okay, so the question we got was, somebody has done their quant syllabus.
Your voice, I think, is cracking.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Can you repeat?
Yeah, so we had a live question, somebody asking they had done their quant syllabus, but they're not confident and able to solve questions. So how do you think they should proceed from this point?
Okay, so let me address this to everyone in the chat. See, if you have a fear in any particular section, or if you think you are not scoring well enough, or even if you're scoring well but you think you can go further, it is natural. Let me tell you, there is no person in the entire preparation journey who has always been sure of his marks. You cannot be sure on July and say that I'll ace cat. No one can. So if you are feeling afraid in any section, if you have a fear, or if you actually are demotivated by any section, it is natural. But you know the reason. Now you have to understand how you want to solve it, because more often than not, you know that okay, quant is my weak point, but the pinpointing why quant is your weak section is actually a tough part. So understanding why you are not able to solve quants, there might be a problem with your strategy. You might be leaving easier questions and picking up the tough questions. You might even take a lot of time solving the easier questions, and then not have enough time at the end. So the exact reason as to why you're lagging behind in quant or DILR or VARC or whatever, you have to find the reason for that yourself, and mocks help you do that. So when you give a mock, sit and analyze it well. It's very important. It's actually 50% of the part. Giving mock is just the 50%. 50% is the analyzing bit. So now that you have given a mock, sit, relax, and just see where you could have done better. um, just a lot of times people just see where they went wrong and be done with the analysis. But what I did was, even where the questions were correct, I just had a quick glimpse, because yes, you'll not see every question. I just had a quick glimpse of what could I have done better. Because if there is a question, I solved it in 3 minutes. Was there a method that I could have done this in 1 minute? And if I find a method, that's 2 minutes in the back for me. So you have to find what exactly is the problem with your strategy or your knowledge or the overall process that you're following. You have enough time for that. As of today, you have at least 5 months ahead, so you have enough time for that. But just be sure that you have to put in efforts to find out what your problem is, and then you have to find a way to solve those problems. I think that answers it.
Got it. Thanks. Ayush, the other question we have for you is, what was your first mock percentile? What was your lowest mock percentile? And what was the range in which you had your mock percentiles throughout?
I actually have not shared it, I think, on any platform, but okay, here goes. So in SimCat 1, I had a 97.03 percentile, I think. I got 123 marks out of 300, and I had a 97.03 percentile. There were people who scored 150 plus in just 2 sections. They ignored the VRC and they had 150 plus, and trust me, that time was very intimidating for me, because I was seeing people getting twice as more as me. There were people who scored even 250. That was a very intimidating time for me. And yeah, it is natural for everyone. The lowest, I think, overall percentile was, I think, somewhere around 94. I don't know. It's somewhere around 94. 94 point something was the lowest. And trust me, I did not sleep that night. I was really worried. I was really scared of where this prep is going. But yeah, you go through it, and I mean, now looking back at it, I think it was important that I got a 94, or a lesser percentile if I would have gotten it. It is important because it shows the strength of character, because you are just not preparing for CAT, you are preparing for an MBA journey. Because I have started my MBA life in IIM Ahmedabad, and I see that it is a lot more hectic than anything you have ever faced. And if in the times of turmoil you are not able to pick up yourself, you are not actually preparing for the MBA journey. So you have to be ready to pick yourself up from the dust and just rub the dust off and say, okay, I'm going to move forward after this. And that's you have to develop that.
Got it. And what tips would you like to share for the mere mortals who score in the percentile in the 80s range, the 70s range, sometimes the 95 range?
See, I am also a mere mortal. I don't want to comment on anything on that. But for everyone in the chat or anyone seeing this, what I can say is, when I was preparing, if someone would have come from the future and said you'll get a 99.99 percentile, I would have laughed so hard. I am not kidding. I would have laughed so hard because I never thought this was possible. And to be honest, yes, it was my first time, and I did not know what effort will correspond to what percentile or what score what would correspond to, because it was a 2-hour mock, 2-hour cat. And yeah, there was a sense of variable that I could not just put in. That being said, you do not know what you are capable of. To the people seeing, you do not know what you're capable of. Even if you're scoring a very low percentile, you do not know if you someday, when the results come, you are not among the top 10 percentilers or top 20 percentilers. You do not know that. And trust me, even I was in a stage where I did not know if I'll end up even in a decent college, not let alone the best. Even in a decent college I'll end up. And yes, that is natural. It is because we are in a such vast competition that it is natural to feel intimidated by a lot of people. But trust me, it gets better. Just forget about percentile, forget about scores, even forget about colleges. All you have for now is the cat. Just start putting diligent efforts into the cat, just getting those scores better consistently. And I think that's about it, because you cannot alter what you cannot handle, right? You cannot change the shortlisting calls, you cannot change the criteria. What you have in hand is the score that you're actually putting in. So trust me, you do not know what you're capable of. I did not know I was capable of this percentile, and I hope certainly that many of you in the chat will certainly score more than me. I do hope that. So yeah, don't put a barrier in your mind that I will not be able to do this. You can do it. Just start putting in effort, and it will pay off.
Amazing. Thanks for that, Ayush. We have another question that's into a little more detail than this. There's Tanvi who's asking how to attempt mock sec. Should she skip RCs and sets that are not doable, or should her sole motive while giving a mock should be to identify the weaknesses that she has?
See, Tanvi, what I can say is, I don't know very specific about your preparation stage and everything, but if you are at the beginner stage, let's talk about DILR first. If you are at a beginner stage, try finding out the best sets that you can, so that you are at a decent level in DILR, if not the best. So try getting up to that level, and same with VARC. Try picking off the easy ones first, easy RCs first, easy VA part first, and then climbing to a certain decent score, so to speak. Then after you have a decent amount of mocks in your bag, you have a clear sense of what percentile you're aiming at. So if let's say your aim is at a 99 plus, you'll have to adjust your score, adjust your strategy accordingly. So for now, just bring that score to a decent threshold level. According to you, it completely depends on how you perceive it. After that, try pushing it to the extreme that you can. So yeah, that answers it.
Got it. And for DILR, Ayush, there's another question. There's Aditya who's asking that he's able to solve sets in DILR, but it just takes way too long to solve sets. So basically, he's not able to attempt more than 1 to 2 sets in the time frame. So any solution that you would like to propose to tackle this?
Aditya, it's okay if you're solving just one set in a DILR. And trust me, there are a lot of people who don't even solve one set. There are people who solved 2 sets in the entire cat and got every answer wrong. So even if you're solving 1 or 2 sets correct, you are way ahead of a lot of people. Now that you are in this stage that I can solve sets, but I'll need more time. You have to start putting yourself under the time pressure. So whenever you're practicing, put a timer in front of you, and try and solve under that time pressure. Initially, I can assure you, you won't be able to solve even one set, because the transition state is such that you won't be able to extract the most out of it. But just when you start giving it enough time, the timer will become your friend, trust me. Because there are a lot of apps on Windows. I remember having a lot of them, so I would just maximize them and keep them on my screen while solving the DILR practice questions. And trust me, with some time, and I cannot say the fixed time, because it depends on your number of questions and everything. But with some time, the clock will become your friend. Trust me, the time will certainly get reduced. And yes, in a CAT, a decent set can be solved under 3.5 minutes. So yeah, I have solved it, and a lot of people have solved in less. So yeah, it is possible. It has been done. You can do it.
Got it. Thanks, Ayush. There's somebody else asking, can they start preparing for DILR by directly solving previous year papers? Do you recommend doing that?
Yeah, it can be done. But I would say before doing that, at least from any material, try and get an understanding of the different types of questions there are. So let's just say there is games and tournaments or Venn diagrams. Try and solve the basic ones first, so that you have an idea of the concepts that are being applied. Because if you straight away go to CAT 2017, which had one of the toughest DILRs in the history, you will get lost because you don't know the concepts. So what I would suggest is get acquainted with the basics first. Get at least two sets of every concept there is. So for games and tournaments, two sets. For arrangement, linear arrangement, circular arrangement, two sets, so that you are acquainted with whatever the question strategy question asking thing is. After that, you can go ahead with any type of material that you want.
Got it. Ayush, another question we have is, how much do you think is the bare minimum study time a serious aspirant should give in until CAT?
There is no bare minimum, because a lot of people while working have scored a very high percentile more than me. So there is no bare minimum. You have to, what I can say is, according to your because I don't know if you're working, if you're studying, if you're a fresher, or if you're working, just take out the maximum time that you can. Yes, you have to make sacrifices. You have to cut down on your free time, you have to cut down on your family time, but again, that's a sacrifice you have to make, and you know that. So there is no threshold for this. You just take out as much as you can from whatever time you have. And see, the time is never enough. Even for a 99.99 percentile, the percentile is not enough. I wanted 100. So for 100 percentiler, 100 percentile is not enough. He could have scored more. She could have scored more than the scores could have been better. So no score or result is never enough. You just extract whatever the best you can, and I think if you do that consistently, you're there.
Got it. Thanks, Ayush. Another question we have is, can we prepare for CAT and other exams like IIFT and MAT, ZAT parallelly, simultaneously, in your view?
So in my experience, I actually gave ZAT and IIFT, just the 3 exams, and I had pretty decent percentiles in both as well. So what I did see is ZAT has a bit different paper when compared to CAT, but it does give you a lot of time. So I remember CAT was on 29th November and ZAT was on 3rd January. There is 1 month where you have enough time to study about for ZAT. And especially the DM section and the VRC section of ZAT are something that you cannot prepare for. It's just instinct. No one can teach you that. So ZAT is not a worry. IIFT has a GK cutoff, and it is actually counted in the overall score as well. So you might get, it would be better if you can get acquainted with GK, because yes, it will definitely help you in the interviews as well. So yes, if you are in touch with GK, that's enough for IIFT. IIFT has a paper on a similar lines as CAT, even easier. So yeah, not a reason to worry, because even IIFT, SNAP and MAT, these will be way ahead in January, and CAT will be in November. So yeah, not a reason to worry as of now.
All right, we have a lot of more questions coming in, but I just took a quick look at them, and we've spoken about them earlier in this conversation. So to everybody who has those questions, please scroll back and you will find answers. The live will also be saved after it's streamed, so you can watch it later on as well, the entire bit, the ones you've missed. It's 7, and we also have to let Ayush go because now he's an IMA student. He has stuff to do in life. So we're going to say bye-bye to him. But before we do, I want to thank you, Ayush, for joining us. It was lovely having you. Very honest conversation, sharing details with us that usually aren't shared. So thanks for that. And before we go on, I want to share 2-3 things that could help everybody who's watching the live. One is there's this mini mock series that we have released to help you guys prepare for CAT. These are short questions, short tests that you can take every day to get into the practice and build the skill set that will eventually help you on D-Day. The time pressure that Ayush talked about. So you have all of that when you're taking these mini mocks, and they don't take a lot of time, but they help you. So that's one of the things you can do. There's also counsel and counsel promise. These are areas through which we help you. We give you one-on-one coaching. This is related to your career building, skill building. We also have all CUNY where you can go and check out the courses that are available. Not only can we help you create results in terms of jobs and everything, but they can also help you build skills that you're looking for. So these are all the ways we help you apart from these live conversations. But today you joined in, and I hope this helped. Let me know what you think about it. Ayush, thanks again for making the time. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Oshin. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And for the people who joined in, thank you. And so, again, sorry for the interruptions in between. That could not have been avoided. Again, it was great talking to you, Oshin.
All right. All the best for your journey going forward, Ayush, and all the best to everyone who's preparing for CAT. I'll see you next Thursday, 6 p.m. Bye-bye.